Hello guys, how are we all doing? Welcome back to EFL Championship predictions for some midweek games. Sophie, December is relentless. How many fixtures are we getting?
How many videos are you getting out of me?
I know, I'm squeezing them all out of you. I mean, this is really difficult because we are trying to keep up with everything, guys. So your support would be appreciated on this video as we are back with Championship predictions. Please do make sure to hit that thumbs up button. We'll go for 1,100 likes. It is free to drop a like, so make sure to do so. It is also free to subscribe, and as you can see, we are so close to 49,000 subscribers, and then after that it's one more push to 50,000 subscribers. Last week, Sophie, in our Championship predictions, it was a draw, 7 points apiece, which means you are still in front.
Okay, yeah, that's not a bad return, to be honest, 7 each.
Yeah. Let's get into the predictions again. We are kicking things off at Ewood Park, Sophie. Blackburn Rovers versus Bristol City. Blackburn Rovers were involved in the early game on Saturday, weren't they? They lost 2-0 at home to Leeds United. Yeah. We did both back Leeds United to win that game. To be honest, Blackburn's form has actually tailed off a little bit because you think of the result against Sheffield Wednesday the week before. Not great, this little run now. They take on Bristol City, and Bristol City, I've said, are very sort of mid-table, and I don't mean that in a sort of offensive way. I think they're, they're solid.
They are.
And you backed them to get a 1-1 draw at Huddersfield Town last week, and that's what they went and did. Look, it'd be a great result if Bristol City come here and win, because they're about 13th at the moment, 14th. They could jump up right into that top half. I just fancy Blackburn a little bit more, to be honest. Despite their form's taken a little wobble recently, I think Blackburn Rovers might just pinch this game, especially with the home advantage. I'm going to go Blackburn 2, Bristol City 1.
Yeah, probably about a month ago I would have lent towards Blackburn as well, but as their form's just taken a bit of a dip, I'm going to say they're going to get a point, but yeah, I can't see anything but a draw here, to be fair, so I'm going to sit on the fence, 1-1.
Kicking things off, sitting on the fence.
1-1, yeah.
There you go, very exciting. No, fair enough. On to the next one, Sophie. As we go to the John Smiths, Huddersfield Town take on Preston North End. And speaking of draws, they were both involved in a draw last week. Yeah. Huddersfield Town with a Darren draw, 1-1 at home to Bristol City, as we just mentioned. And Preston went away to Norwich. They got a 0-0 draw. So, I don't know, I'm thinking possibly a draw for this one, to be honest, Sophie. But generally, you look at maybe the last 10 games for both sides, I don't want to sit on the fence, and I just think I'm going to go for Huddersfield. They've looked pretty good under Darren Moore. I think he really has improved them.
Yes,
and another thing is, they're getting pressure piled on them now by QPR, Sheffield Wednesday. Those teams are picking up results now. So despite, a few weeks ago, Huddersfield were picking up the results and you're thinking, okay, they're going to be all right. Now it's like,
put your foot down a little bit.
Yeah, put your foot down a bit more because the teams behind you are gaining on you. So I don't know if a draw is great for Huddersfield. I think they've got to try and win the home games. And Preston, yes, they've been, pretty good in general this season. But if you really do focus in on the last 9-10 games, there's not many wins in there. I'm going to go for Huddersfield, Sophie. Huddersfield 1, Preston North End 0.
Oh, well, I'm keeping that fence nice and warm, and I'm going to say another 1-1 draw. It's Darren draw.
It is.
You can't knock back a draw. So, 1-1.
2 draws already, Sophie.
Let's make it 3.
God, you go for 3 draws. Bloody hell.
Depends what the next game is.
Next up, Sophie, we've got Rotherham United versus West Bromwich Albion. West Brom, they lost again last week, Sophie. They lost to Sunderland, but things could be worse. You could be Rotherham, who are now bottom of the Championship, and that is all down to the fact that Rotherham have struggled to pick up wins. Sheffield Wednesday have come to life. What was poor for Rotherham, Sophie, in their home game against Swansea is a red card after 17 minutes.
Yes, that's a very early time. That's 2 yellows as well, not even straight red. Yeah. 2 yellows in 17 minutes. That is poor.
Yeah, Ayala getting a red card, and at that point I was like, oh God, because I backed them to beat Swansea, and with that red card they've really let me down. I'm going to go for West Brom here, Sophie. Both sides, I suppose, over the last couple of games come into this in pretty poor form, but Rotherham's poor form stretches back a long way, whereas West Bromwich Albion, it's just a couple results, and I think this is a nice enough fixture for them to bounce back. I think West Brom make the top 6 this season, and I think West Bromwich Albion win this game. I'm going to go 2-1 to the Baggies.
Okay, I'm going for the same deficit. I'm going to say West Brom win. I think a clean sheet would be big. Rotherham, as we've said, they've not looked very good. They're currently sitting rock bottom, which is obviously not good. So they need something from this game. But West Brom, equally, I feel like they need something from this game because they've not been the best recently too. So I'm going to back them to win, but only by 1 goal. 1-0.
1-0 Baggies. Yeah. It is a big game, but yeah, I think I'm going to go for West Brom. Rotherham just keep letting me down, but they are better when they're at home at the same time.
But they're still poor.
Yeah. Well, speaking of poor, Sophie, let's go to Stoke City, who have sacked Alex Neil, and I suppose, it was coming, wasn't it?
It was. The fans started to turn on him, and I can understand why, because we all said coming into the season they've had a good transfer window, and they have massively underperformed.
Absolutely. And they take on Swansea City here, Sophie. Swansea City, as we said, got that win at Rotherham United, so they'll come here on a bit of a high, and I think they probably make it 2 wins from 2. Now, with Stoke City, what could be interesting is you could get a new manager bounce.
Yes.
I don't know if they're actually going to get a new manager in, but they will have, an interim at least. So they could have a no manager bounce or something. I just don't know with Stoke City, Sophie. They are the biggest anomaly in the Championship. Every single season they bring in some good players and we're like, here we go. No, they always let us down. Swansea are going to win this for me, Sophie. Swansea have started to, get going this season under Michael Duff. Stoke 1, Swansea 2.
I'm going for the same, but the other way. I feel like there could be a bit of a new manager or no manager bounce, and Swansea, they've been looking good, but not good enough for me to beat a no manager or new manager Stoke. So for me, I'm going to go 2-1 Stoke.
Really?
Yeah.
It can happen. It's the Championship.
Exactly.
Absolutely. I tell you what, Sophie, there's one team that is really becoming hard to not go with, and that is Ipswich Town, who head to Watford, Vicarage Road, Sophie. I tell you what, Watford, to be fair, let's start with them. They've been on a decent run of form, and they kept that going with a late equaliser against Southampton, which was massive in our predictions, because you had backed Southampton 1-0.
1-0, thanks for that, Watford.
And I had backed a draw. A draw here would also be a good result for Watford, despite them being the home team, because they are playing Ipswich, who are just bloody relentless.
Yeah, they are.
Oh
just
my
ridiculous
God.
at this point. A little bit boring. You're that good. It's boring now.
Ipswich, come on. Like, chuck a defeat in there. No, I'm going Ipswich, Sophie.
Yeah,
we were fools last week. We both went against them. I said a draw with Middlesbrough. You said Middlesbrough. And they beat them 2-0. Clean sheet, 2 goal difference. I think Watford might be able to get 1 goal because Watford have been in decent form. But I think Ipswich just continue to grind out these victories. Watford 1, Ipswich 2.
Yeah, I was tempted to say 2 or 3-1 to Ipswich because they do look very, very good going forward. They're coming up against Watford, who, again, they've not been in the worst form coming into this, but they're playing Ipswich at the moment, who are absolutely flying. Go on, I think there's going to be a few goals in this one. 3-1 Ipswich.
Oh!
Yeah, changed at the last second.
Wow, yeah, it could be tasty, that one. Share your predictions for the game at Vicarage Road between Watford and Ipswich Town. Next up, Sophie, we are going to the Stadium of Light. This is the best game this week. Sunderland versus Leeds United. First of all, is this the 2 most passionate fan bases in the division?
Some of the biggest fan bases. They are very passionate as well, so possibly, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, honestly, even though we support Coventry and we really rate our own fan base, there's something about these fan bases. I mean, they're northern fan bases. They're always quite passionate of North, but Sunderland, I mean, what a huge fan base for the Championship, and Leeds United as well. Anyway, let's talk about the football on the pitch. I think this is going to be an interesting game because Leeds United are the away team, and they come into this, on a great run of form. But Sunderland, being at home and the fact that they've won their last game against a decent West Brom team, I think makes this one quite close. I haven't gone for any draws yet, Sophie. I just think at times this season, Leeds United have dropped some silly points. And on Tuesday night, they won't. Sunderland 1, Leeds 2. I think Sunderland give them a good go, but Leeds just keep going. Leeds 2-1.
So you threw me off with all that draw talk.
Oh, and also we need to mention to the Leeds United fans, we're coming your way on Saturday.
Coming for you.
We've got our tickets for Ellen Road, Leeds v Coventry. We'll see you there. Carry on.
I'm going to be nice and say a draw. I agree. Leeds at times have dropped a couple points, and Sunderland played well against West Brom, so this one's going to be tasty for me. I will say, if I'm going to lean towards any team at all, it would be Leeds, to be honest. But I feel like a Desmond's going to play out 2-2.
Yeah, like I say, I was thinking a draw in that one. But there you go, Sunderland versus Leeds. Share your predictions for that big game at the Stadium of Light. On to some games on Wednesday now, Sophie, and we go down to South Wales, where Cardiff City take on Birmingham City. Oh God, Sophie, this is a foregone conclusion, surely.
With the way,
no, Bluebirds win.
Yeah,
with the way these two are going. Let's talk about Birmingham, Sophie. We got to see them in the flesh on Friday night. They weren't totally hopeless. No. I thought there was some positives. Stansfield is a lively player.
Yeah, Dembele as well.
Yeah, they had some joy down the sides, and if they'd have scored first, who knows what could have happened. But ultimately, I think their man of the match was John Ruddy.
Yeah,
the
was.
goalkeeper.
He kept us a minute.
So what does that say? It's just really frustrating for Birmingham. Should they now stick with Wayne Rooney now that they've done it, or are they at real risk of falling, quite far down the division? Because as we've said, down the bottom, teams are starting to improve. Let's talk about Cardiff as well, Sophie. Good result against Millwall. The goal was a bit strange, but they are, once again level on points with the top 6. So, yeah, let's go for Cardiff, Sophie. I think Cardiff are having a great season. Cardiff 2, Birmingham 1.
Okay, you give me Blues a goal. I'm going to say 1-0 Cardiff win. What I will say about Blues is I feel sorry for them. I really do. It was a good support, turning out up against Coventry. You can see why, with those players, why they were playing quite well under Eustace. I don't know what's going on with Rooney, but I feel like you might as well stick with him now. You've got him, give him time. I'm not all about this, get a manager in, sack him. I know it's not going well at all, but give him time. If it's still not improving, then you start looking. But right now, it's too soon for me. I do see them clocking up another defeat, though, against Cardiff, because they are looking pretty good. But for me, it's just 1-0.
Yeah, interesting. I get your point, actually. From my perspective as well, I still think Rooney has more time, but how long do you give him? On to the next one, Sophie. Let's go to the CBS. Coventry City take on Southampton, and this brings back memories of that FA Cup game a couple of years ago, Sophie. First time I've played them since then, and Southampton have been a very decent Championship team. They're looking to make a swift return. They're trying to keep up with Leicester, Ipswich and Leeds United. But as we said, they dropped points late on Saturday with the late Watford equaliser. Coventry come into this on a decent little run now, 3 wins in 4. But one thing you definitely need to take into account is this is Southampton. We just beat Birmingham. They are streets apart. Okay, this is a lot harder. I would be happy with a draw. And I think it will be a draw. It's not impossible Coventry could win, but I also think Southampton could so easily come and win as well. I'm feeling down the middle because we've got home advantage and we've been on a decent run. We have got some difficult games coming. I'm going to go Coventry 1, Southampton 1. I think Southampton, you can maybe just get a draw out of them at the moment. Yeah,
I'm going for the exact same. And I would take a draw as well. Southampton are a good team. They're obviously fighting for an automatic place at the moment, so they need to be putting in good performances. So I could see this game going either way, to be honest, but I'm going to agree with you and I'm going to say a 1-1 draw.
Yeah, both go 1-1. Look at me, I'm joining you on the fence.
Yeah,
there you go. Right, Sophie, on to the next game. We're going to stay in the Midlands, going across to the East Midlands at the King Power. Leicester City take on Millwall. Maybe the most sort of foregone conclusion out of any of these games so far.
Yeah.
Millwall, I don't know, are they in free fall at the moment?
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah, they got that great win, a new manager bounce under Edwards, and then, I don't know, really sort of spiralling out of control here. Not like getting battered every week, they're not that bad, but...
they were at one point, weren't they? With their,
I suppose, actually, they did a couple of times, didn't they? They lost to Coventry 3-0.
But not so much like past couple.
Yeah, they lost to Cardiff 1-0, they got that 1-1 against Sunderland.
Yeah.
Bit frustrating, isn't it? Leicester City, I mean, speaking of batterings, they smashed Plymouth Argyle into the ground.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, they need to keep winning though, Leicester. I mean, as good as they have been, they haven't really opened a gap on Leeds or Ipswich any more than it already was, because those teams keep winning as well. It's going to be interesting to see who blinks first, because they all play each other over Christmas time. Leicester win this game for me. Leicester 2, Millwall 0.
Leicester 3-0. It's another fairly heavy defeat for Millwall, purely because you're playing Leicester, and Leicester, they've just wiped the floor with Plymouth, and at the moment I'd probably say Plymouth are a better team. So really I could see there being more goals, but I feel like Millwall are going to have to dig in deep to try and get something, maybe set up for a draw. But yeah, Leicester are going to be too good for me. So 3-0, so not a complete disgrace of a scoreline, but not great either.
Yeah, there you go. 3-0 to Leicester City. Next up, Sophie, we go to Carrow Road, where Norwich City take on Sheffield Wednesday. For the last 2 weeks, Sophie, I've backed Sheffield Wednesday to win.
Yeah,
and
that's
they've
why
been
you've been
winning.
getting more points than me.
I backed them to beat Blackburn 3-1, and it was 3-2. I then said they'd win 1-0 at Stoke, and they won 1-0 at Stoke. Now, this game is not easy, to be honest. Sheffield Wednesday have been improving, but this is not an easy game. I do think Norwich are still a solid team, despite maybe not a great run of form. They are still in the top half. It was 0-0 against Preston at the weekend. They are no mugs. But Sheffield Wednesday are going to win again, Sophie. I'm telling you, Sheffield Wednesday are rising to the top. Norwich 1, Sheffield Wednesday 2.
I don't know about rising to the top.
Why not?
It's too late for that. We've got Leicester and Ipswich up there. But Sheffield Wednesday are on the up. I've not backed you enough, and actually, you proved me wrong. So can you make it 3 from 3 for me? Yes. I don't see why not. I do see it being like a tight game, to be honest, because Norwich aren't a bad team. But for me, Sheffield Wednesday win 1-0 again.
There you go. Are Sheffield Wednesday staying up, Sophie?
No.
Oi!
No, they might.
They might.
They might.
I think they
but
might.
I don't know.
Right, on to the next game. QPR take on Plymouth Argyle. Really big game down the bottom, this one,
Yeah.
Sophie. It's all bunching up together now. Huddersfield Town, Queen's Park Rangers, Sheffield Wednesday, Plymouth Argyle, Stoke City. They're all in a bit of a relegation sandwich. And if QPR win this game over Plymouth Argyle, then they will certainly close them down. And I think I am going to go for them, Sophie. They have really improved. They're playing like a playoff team right now. Ultimately, it's probably a bit late to try and actually achieve that. They've got to just stay up this season first. But they are picking up some great results. This run of form under Cifuentes is fantastic. Yeah. And a great 2-0 win over Hull City. Hull City are a good team, so that's a great result. And as we said, Plymouth, I think they personally, they could be in a fight, but I do think they stay up this season. But their away form is letting them down. And as we just mentioned, 4-0 at Leicester. I think they could get a goal here, but I'm going to go for QPR again. QPR 2, Plymouth 1.
I'm going to say QPR 3-1. I feel like Plymouth's defence got exposed against Leicester, and QPR are playing very well at the moment, so that can't be ignored. Plymouth's away form is shocking. They need to sort that out if they want to stay up. I do feel like they'll stay up, but at the moment it'll be by the skin of the teeth. Yeah, for me, QPR fairly convincing. 3-1.
3-1 to Queen's Park Rangers. Interesting. There's one game left, Sophie. We're going to go to the Riverside, where Middlesbrough take on Hull City. I like this game. I can't really actually choose right now who I think finishes higher out of these two come the end of the season. Both just outside the top 6 now, both pretty close to it, and both have been really good at times this season. But for me, lately, Middlesbrough have been dropping more and more points. I do think they are suffering with a couple of injuries.
With injuries, yeah, I was going to say that.
And they did have this at times last season under Carrick. They're a bit of a streaky team. They'll have a good run, and then they'll sort of fall away for a bit, and then I think they will soon get going again. You could find in January or February, Middlesbrough win 5 out of 6 and they're in the top 6. Hull City, they lost to QPR. Not great, but we have said QPR have been great. I'm thinking of sitting on the fence here for this one, Sophie. But do you know what? I might actually go for Hull City. It's a big shout here. Big away day for Hull City. It'll be an interesting atmosphere. But I think Hull might just pinch the 3 points. I really like Middlesbrough. To be honest, I really like both of these two.
Yeah.
But the recent form is telling me Middlesbrough might just lose again. Middlesbrough 1, Hull City 2.
Yeah, I think both teams need to bounce back from their last games, so it's who is going to do that for me. Do you know, I don't see a draw playing out. I do feel like either team's going to do it, but for me, I'm going to say 2-1 Middlesbrough.
Oh.
Just because they're the home side. I know, I can see it going towards Hull as well, but yeah, I don't know. I've just got a feeling that Middlesbrough are going to win this one, so I'll say 2-1.
2-1 to Borough. I like that. I like it when we go the opposite way. It'll be interesting to see how that one plays out. That wraps up our Championship predictions, guys. Of course, as ever, do make sure to share your Championship predictions down in the comments. It's free to get down there and comment. It's also free to drop a like and free to subscribe. Make sure you've hit the subscribe button as we are closing in on 49,000 subscribers and then 50,000 subscribers by the end of this year. Thank you for joining me today, Sophie.
Thank you.
We will see you guys in the next one. Peace out.